What is up, you gorgeous, fabulous creatures, and welcome to another episode of the brand new Losing It podcast. You're here with Kylie Pax, Australia's emotional eating coach, and this is the vibe today. I feel like it could be a smackdown. I don't really know, but this is what you need to hear today. My first question to you would be, how many times, so I'm going to assume, let's assume that you're listening to this podcast early in the morning. That's usually when we mostly listen to these sorts of things. How many times this morning already have you gone against your word? Now, we spoke about this a little bit in the last podcast. How many times already this morning have you dishonored yourself, said you were going to do something and then you didn't do it? If you want to talk about why you're still struggling with your weight, why you're still emotional eating, let me give you a prime example, and I'll preface this by saying, let me give you the spoiler alert, because you don't want to change. Look, okay, what I was going to say was you don't want to change. Now, let me just give you some context. You do want to change. We'll fucking want to change. Let's clarify, we want the changes, but we don't want to do what it takes to achieve the change. I used to be such a high maintenance emotional eater that I would go to any lengths, like seriously, any lengths to keep the food away from myself. I thought that this is going to be the solution. I'm going to keep the food out of the house. So I tried that. I would literally take the foods that I wanted or the foods that I felt that I couldn't resist myself around, and I would drive all the way to my parents' house. It's about 15 minutes at the time. But I would go all the way there, explain to my mum. I don't know how she didn't, seriously, just admit me into a psych ward straight away. But I explained to her, I said, "Miss Ma, I can't keep this stuff in the house. I just can't. I probably didn't say to her, I'm going to binge on it because I was too embarrassed. But I just said, I just can't keep this stuff in the house. But I do want it, and I want to have it only when I come here, or I'll come and get a small portion." See how fucked up this is? I'll drive 15 minutes to get 2 squares of chocolate, and then I'll drive 15 minutes home. It's ridiculous. But this is what I did. And she kindly kept these foods there for me in the cupboard. What the fuck do you think happened? I would go visit there, and then I would just be like, I'm just going to the bathroom, screw my way down into the hallway where I knew she had hid it. She didn't hide it very well at all. She just kept it in the cupboard. And I would stuff my face and then come back down, licking my lips like absolutely nothing had happened. Then I would go to the shops and replace the block so that she didn't notice that I had eaten this entire thing. The lengths that we go to, this is equivalent to you all going through the drive-through, eating all the macas, doing the things, and then hiding the wrappers from your family before you get out the car. You know, you would stop at the bin on the way home. And so they weren't even in the car in case your husband came out to greet you and then there's fucking wrappers there before you can put them in the bin. We would do this. Then I would also tell myself, okay, these are the foods that I love. I'm only going to have them on a special occasion. I'll have them once a week on a treat night. And that's terrible. Honestly, that's a whole nother conversation. When you sprinkle magical pixie dust over certain foods and call them treats or special things, of course you're going to want them really badly. Everybody wants a treat. So I would throw these things right up the back of my very tall pantry, way up. So you literally had to get like a ladder to get these things down, and I would throw them up there so that I didn't know where they would land. And then it was just all more effort to try and get them down. But when I was in full-blown emotional eating / binge mode, do you think I gave a shit? Do you think I gave a rat's ass how hidden or far back in the pantry these things were? I would drag out chairs and balance myself precariously on top of shit so that I could try and pull these things down. But as I would pull down the chocolate or the biscuits or whatever was up there, literally all sorts of shit from the top of the pantry was falling on my head. I didn't care. I was zoned in and focused. All I cared about was getting the chocolate, the biscuits, the cookies, whatever I had thrown up there. Chips. I usually threw chips up there. Not one by one, whole packets. They weren't opened. I'm not just like rabid squirrel eating random little stale chips at the top. But I will say I probably would have. So here's today's lesson. With all the things I was doing to try and alleviate the desires to binge, overeat, stop emotional eating at night. there was a bunch of stuff that I wasn't doing that could have most certainly made the journey shorter, quicker, faster, expedited it to such a degree that I would have healed my emotional eating. And I'm just going to say healed because I feel like it's a trauma we have to heal from. I would have overcome my emotional eating instead of 30 years. And it was really more than 30 years, but let's just be graceful, 30 years. I would have overcome it let me tell you how long it really did take to overcome it. When I met Phil, which was, I don't know, it's over 5 years ago now, is when I finally gave up the very, very last little skerricks of any binge we all still everybody emotionally eats, but any real binge eating. Like prior to that, I felt I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to turn. There was certainly no coaches around like this dealing with things when I was 10 years old. I will just clarify, I started binging well under 10, probably about 6 years old. I was binging. So who knows why a small child does that, right? But you don't need to know. I could go to a shrink and maybe discover it, but I don't really give a shit. I don't care about the why. I just want to know how to solve the problem. And it doesn't involve me finding out the why. The problem solving aspect involves me developing stronger character. So if you are still suffering in this area, and I will say suffering because it's fucking painful. You hate yourself, you hate your body, you certainly despise what you see in the mirror. I mean, one day, if you want me to share this episode, please come find me over on Insta and drop into my DMs and tell me. I'll tell you the entire story from A to Z because I would sit outside. There's one particular instance I remember very clearly when I was married still, sitting outside in the dark, because it was nighttime, under the moon. It's probably a full moon. Sitting outside under the moon. It was probably quite a picturesque moment, except I was sitting there crying with a knife. So now it's suddenly very spooky. It's like a Freddy Krueger moment, right? I was just so desperate. I felt I couldn't go on the way that I was because I hated myself so much. I hated how I looked, yes, but I also hated my weakness and my inability to stick to my word and do what I said I was going to do. When I said I'm not going to binge eat anymore, I'm not even going to overeat at night. When I say I'm going to stop at a healthy amount of food, I fucking stop. And I just felt that I couldn't at the time. It was literally like food had a Wi-Fi connection to my brain and would just call me back to the fridge, back to the kitchen. I was so out of control. But you've got to understand there's so much more to this. Well, I was going to say than just you being out of control, because it's not even about you being out of control. Your brain has a minimum of 60,000 thoughts a day. It's a lot of fucking activity going on up there. A minimum of 60,000 thoughts a day. I'm not even talking about all the little neurons firing off or keeping your heart beating and that sort of shit. 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are negative. Oh, hold up. And 95% of those negative thoughts are repetitive, which means you are thinking the same bullshit day in, day out. The same stuff you thought yesterday and the day before and the day before. And if you're not practicing, if you don't have a particular practice to overcome this, that is never going to stop. Your life will not change. I mean, I know this. I know this because I've worked with clients and they've told me, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. And we break the pattern in a 3-month period. So, which now reminds me what I was going to say to you. When I met Phil and I didn't have any coaches or anything, I finally gave myself permission, because he's such a foodie. I gave myself permission to let it all go, to just let it all go. And it took me probably around about the 6-ish month mark, 6 months, maybe between 6 months and a year, because I had a 30-year history with this, around 6 months to a year, to finally feel safe, comfortable, okay with all the food in the house. Now we have, I show this stuff on my Insta stories all the time. The pantry is jam-packed with all the beautiful junk foods. I'm gonna say beautiful because they are enjoyable. I'm not one of those coaches that's like, you fucking watch your macros and do this shit. You can lose weight and eat junk at the same time. You can lose weight eating only junk if that's what you want to do. I will show you how to do it because I did it as well. But is that going to give you the healthiest result? Is that going to give you like the result where you have the most energy and you feel vibey and your brain is not thinking maybe like 80% negative shit day in, day out? Your role in this moment is to recognize where you are slacking off. And we all have areas. I was thinking about them all morning when I've just come back from the gym, because you always see me filming these every week. I film the podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, you see me. I'm in my fucking gym gear, like big effort, Kylie makes. I'm in my gym gear. I come back sweaty, zero, like I don't do anything. But I'm just pumped because that's when I truly believe that's the best time to get out there and do something, because I feel really good and I'm high vibe and the energy is good from the gym. Look at where you are bullshitting yourself. Where are you telling yourself you're going to do better, but you are consistently not, and then beating yourself up for it? So you're not actually doing anything. You're repeating a bullshit cycle day in, day out, thinking that tomorrow is going to be different. Let me wrap it up with this. We are now just at the start of November. If you, like many, many people of the world, all the people of the world, have now decided, they've fucking checked out. They're like, well, we've had Halloween, we've got all the Christmas festivities coming up. Like there's just no point. People have got Thanksgiving and all these things. There's really no point even making any effort between November to December. So they just check out mentally, emotionally, and decide to eat their way through to January. Because why do they do that? Oh, why? Why are you doing that? Because you're going to start again on Jan 1st, aren't you? Oh, please. Don't tell, my clients go to me all the time, you can read my mind. I'm like, I can't fucking read your mind. I'm you. I am you. I know exactly how you're thinking because I think the same shit. So if you are one of those people that's told yourself the bullshit story that it's too hard now, it's too hard, there's too many tempting foods around, I'm going to start again in January, let me give you a little insight. If you live to, let's just be generous and say 85 years old, which I think is fabulous and a bare minimum for us gorgeous females. If you live to 85 years old and you spend these 2 months, November to December, every year, just going, well, fuck it. Let's say you go into fuck it mode from November to December every year. That means you spend over your lifetime 16 and a half, not months, years, just bullshit eating, giving up, not holding yourself accountable to any goals or dreams, telling yourself bullshit stories and being in fuck it mode. You spend 16 and a half years in that zone and you think that you're gonna make progress on Jan 1st? Girl, please wake up, sister. That is not how it works. It's not how it works. It will never work like that. Anybody who spends 16 and a half years in fuck it mode cannot expect to get and be able to cultivate the life that they actually enjoy. I'm just saying, no. If you haven't joined my free course yet, really, really now is the time. And if you have joined my free course, but you haven't watched the videos yet, now is the time. If you have got my free course and you've watched the videos, but you're not implementing them, now's the fucking time, okay? Head on over, kyliepax.com/free course. I give you every single last thing that I did personally, plus a little workbook to go with it. Like I don't leave you hanging here to lose 20 kilos and keep it off. I'm sending you tremendous amounts of love. I will see you again next week. Oh, and I almost forgot to say, of course, please, if you're liking what you're hearing and you want to hear more, leave a comment. Oh, please leave a review. Honey, please leave a review. That's all I ask of you. And that's your Disney rhyme for the day. I will see you again next week. Until then, gorgeous ones, bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to shimmy your butt over to kyliepax.com and sign up for one of my programs so you can start losing your weight now. You'll also find helpful notes and resources in my past podcasts that will help you lose the weight without all the BS drama. I will see you next week.